I took a road trip through Nebraska a few months ago. I was finally taking a break from my freelance graphic design work. It felt good to reconnect with the past since I spent my summers there as a kid. I thought I'd find peace, but things turned out strange. The first stop was a small diner in an even smaller town. When I walked in, the air was thick with the smell of grease. The booths were worn down. I slid into a seat and noticed an old man in the corner booth. He was muttering something, but I couldn't make it out. I thought he might need help, but when I looked back, he was just gone. His plate sat untouched. I couldn't shake the feeling. It felt odd. The next day, I decided to visit a ghost town I remembered. The houses were decaying. It was silent. Too silent. I wandered around, taking photos and remembering my childhood. Then, I spotted a group of kids playing on a broken swing set. They looked like they were having a blast. I thought it was odd, but I walked over and joined their game. Just as I got close, they vanished without a trace. 1 second they were there, the next, gone. I felt cold. Was I seeing things? That night I returned to my motel room. I wanted to forget the odd things that happened. But then I heard laughter outside. At first it was faint, but it grew louder. I thought maybe there were other guests. When I opened the door, there was nothing. Just the dark street and me. My heart was racing. The laughter faded, but I felt watched. Where were the kids? I stepped outside, feeling a chill creep down my spine. The next morning, I packed my bags and left Nebraska. I replayed everything in my mind. Was I tired, or was my mind playing tricks on me? Deep down, I felt something wasn't right. Those moments didn't feel ordinary. I could still hear that laughter echoing in my head. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed longer. What if I found out what was truly there? Doubts cloud my thoughts. Should I have turned back earlier? Did I miss something important? The more I think about it, the more I want to forget. I hear that laughter sometimes and feel my skin crawl. It feels wrong, like it was meant for someone else. Maybe those were moments that were best left unexplained. I remember the diner, the kids, and that laughter. They haunt me. Maybe it's for the best that I left. I just wish I could take back my curiosity. Something about that trip felt like I wasn't alone, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. The drive home was long and quiet. I kept the radio off, letting the hum of the tires against the asphalt fill the space. Nebraska faded in the rearview mirror, but that laughter still echoed in my mind. I tried to concentrate on the wide-open fields and the golden cornstalk swaying in the wind. That calm didn't last, though. A few days later, I was still trying to shake off the feelings from Nebraska. I went to a local coffee shop, hoping the hustle and bustle would ground me. I sat at a small table by the window, scrolling through the photos I had taken on the trip. Each image rekindled memories, but instead of comfort, I felt the familiar chill creeping in. The swing set, the old diner, the empty plate, they felt wrong. Then I noticed something strange. In the background of one of the photos of the ghost town, there was a shadowy figure. It was faint, but definite, standing just behind the old houses. My heart raced. Had I really seen someone? Or was this another trick of the light? I stared at the photo, analyzing every pixel. The more I looked, the more certain I became that I hadn't noticed it at the time. I decided to take a closer look at the area around it. After some quick research online, I found a few forums and blogs discussing the ghost town. Most entries were filled with tales of ghost sightings and strange noises, just the kind of stories that give a place like that its charm. But one comment caught my attention. It mentioned a local legend about children lost to the past, forever playing in the town, waiting for someone to join them. I felt a prick of fear. The kids I saw, the laughter I heard, it was as if they echoed that very legend. I pushed the chair back forcefully, causing a few heads to turn. I needed to get out. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As I stepped outside, the weather had shifted. The air felt heavy, charge crackling around me. I walked to my car, but as I approached, I noticed something unusual. A small figure darting behind a tree nearby. My breath caught in my throat. I squinted, half hoping it was a trick of the light. But there it was again. A childlike form, just on the edge of my vision. I stumbled back, caught off guard. Before I could think twice, I called out, "Hey, is someone there?" Silence wrapped around me, thick and suffocating. The tree stood still, but that nagging feeling in my gut told me I wasn't imagining things. I felt the urge to run, but curiosity anchored me in place. That's when I saw it. A flash of white. Almost like a dress blown by a wind no one else felt. Then a voice, soft and beckoning, drifted to me. "Come play with us." I froze. Should I follow? What if it was just my mind playing tricks again? The laughter tickled my ears, turning into a haunting tune, pleading for my attention. But this time, it felt different. My heart raced as I took a step back, ready to retreat. I was not going to wander into that darkness again. I bolted to my car, the laughter still echoing in my ears. My heart hammered in my chest and I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. As I slipped into the driver's seat and locked the doors, a pulse of relief washed over me. I was safe, or so I thought. I took a deep breath and started the engine. The car felt claustrophobic now, the shadows inside pressing in on me. I pulled out of the parking lot and drove aimlessly, trying to clear my mind. I focused on the road, the familiar landmarks guiding me home. Yet unease lingered. The image of that child, blurred and ghostly, haunted me like a shadow I couldn't shake off. A mile down the road, my phone buzzed with a notification. I glanced down, hoping for a distraction. It was an email from a local history group I had joined after my trip. They often sent updates about folklore and community events. I opened it lazily, skimming through the text when a subject line caught my eye. "Searching for lost children of Milltown." It sent a chill through my veins. I parked on the side of the road, heart racing. My fingers trembled as I clicked the link. The article detailed troubled histories of towns abandoned long ago, their pasts filled with tragedy. The ghost children of Milltown were said to roam, endlessly playing, forgotten by time, their laughter forever echoing in the wind. The more I read, the more the pieces of my own experience started to fit. A child laughing, a brief glimpse through the trees. The words rattled through my mind. "Come play with us." I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd somehow crossed a line, treading into something I didn't fully understand. I scrolled to the bottom of the page. It ended with a note about a gathering at the site of the old ghost town. "Join us for a night of remembrance," it said. My heart sank. Was I really considering going back there? It went against all instincts, but that confusion was coupled with a compulsion I couldn't deny. Suddenly I heard the sound of laughter again, clear and sharp, cutting through the silence. It was far too close. I looked around, half expecting to see the children from that day, peering at me through the trees. My breath caught in my throat. I quickly glanced in the rearview mirror, half convinced I'd see someone there. Nothing. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the creeping panic. I thought about driving away, abandoning all these unsettling memories. Yet, a part of me felt drawn toward that ghost town, wanting answers, or perhaps just a sense of closure. With clenched fists, I made a decision. One more trip wouldn't hurt. I would go back, but this time, I wouldn't go alone. That thought smothered me with a new wave of fear. I turned the car around and headed to my best friend's apartment. I needed someone to come with me, to act as an anchor to reality. As I pulled into their driveway, I felt a sense of dread wash over me. Deep down, I knew that the next trip wouldn't just be about old memories. It would be about facing whatever was waiting for me in the shadows. I knocked on the door, preparing myself. This wasn't going to end quietly. When the door swung open, my friend Jake stood there, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What's going on?" he asked, sensing something was off. I took a shaky breath, trying to formulate the words. "I need your help. It's about Milltown." His expression shifted from grogginess to concern. "You want to go there again? After what happened?" I nodded, and he let out a long sigh. "Okay, but you owe me ice cream after. I can't believe you're dragging me into this." We piled into my car, the engine humming to life as I tried to ignore the anxiety twisting in my stomach. The drive felt longer this time, each mile stretching into what felt like an eternity. I replayed our last visit in my head, flickers of laughter dancing at the edge of my memory. Why did I think going back was a good idea? As we approached Milltown, unease settled over me like a heavy blanket. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows that clawed at the edges of the road. I pulled up to where the ghost town had once stood, the fading remnants just as unsettling as my memory. Jake stepped out, scanning the area. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered, more to himself than to me. I agreed but couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was watching us. We walked toward the dilapidated buildings, their skeletal remains jutting toward the sky, the air thick with tension. "Let's not wander too far," Jake called out, his voice bouncing off the walls. I nodded, but my instincts urged me to explore. Something felt different this time. More real. More alive. We ventured deeper into the town, shadows deepening as the day faded. That's when I heard it again. The faint sound of laughter drifting through the trees. I froze. "Did you hear that?" I asked Jake, my heart pounding. "Hear what?" He looked at me wide-eyed. "Are you messing with me?" Before I could answer, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I whipped around, but nothing was there. Yet the laughter persisted, echoing softly. It wasn't coming from Jake. It felt close, almost as if it was beckoning, drawing me in. "Let's get back to the car," Jake said, his unease palpable. But I hesitated, magnetized by the sound. "Just give me a second," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Then everything shifted. The laughter grew louder, filling my ears, blending with whispers I couldn't decipher. A chill shot down my spine. "What's happening?" I gasped, backing away. Jake turned, a frown creeping across his face. "You're scaring me," he said, glancing over his shoulder. I felt a tug in my chest, a strange pull toward the source of the noise. "I have to find out what it is." Without thinking, I stepped forward. "Wait!" Jake shouted, grabbing my arm, but it felt like something unseen had already wrapped around me. "Just a little closer," I murmured, the laughter tempting me, luring me deeper into the shadows. That's when I saw it, a glimpse of a figure darting just out of sight between the trees. My heart raced. I could hardly breathe as panic clawed at my throat. Who was it? I needed to know. "Let's go!" Jake pulled harder, but I shook him off, stepping toward the woods. Just as fear threatened to grip me entirely, the laughter stopped, replaced by a heavy silence, which only heightened the urgency inside me. Then everything went dark. The light dimmed, swallowing us whole as icy fingers brushed against my skin. I stumbled back. Shadows danced in my vision, twisting shapes surrounding us. And in the dark, a whisper echoed, soft yet chilling. "Come play with us." I blinked in the sudden darkness, my heart racing. The laughter that had filled the air vanished, replaced by an eerie stillness that pressed heavily on my chest. I could no longer see Jake, but I could feel his presence beside me, his breath quickening in fear. "What's happening?" he whispered, the tremor in his voice unmistakable. I reached out, my fingers brushing against what felt like a cool surface. Panic surged. Where were we? "Jake," I called, my voice quivering. "Are you okay?" No response came, only the echo of my voice bouncing back at me. A tightness gripped my throat as I strained to hear anything, any hint of familiarity in this darkness. "We need to get out of here," I finally managed, the urgency rising in me. I took a step forward, but the ground beneath me felt uneven, as if it shifted with every movement. I called Jake's name again, more desperate this time. "Jake! Over here!" His voice broke through the silence, but it was distant. I turned, trying to chase the sound. I felt like I was stumbling through a dream, one where I was forever reaching out but always falling short. As I continued moving, a flicker of light appeared ahead, just a pinprick in the veil of darkness. Hope surged within me. I picked up my pace, feeling the chill around me fade slightly with every step. But when I reached the light, it wasn't what I expected. I found myself in a clearing surrounded by tall trees, each one twisted and gnarled. The light came from a small orb hovering mid-air, pulsating softly like it was alive. Curiosity pulled me closer, but instinct screamed at me to turn back. Dark thoughts swirled in my mind. What if this was a trap? "Stay back, please," a voice rang out as clear as a bell. It was soft but authoritative, and it sent a shiver down my spine. The voice came from a girl, no older than 10, appearing suddenly in the light. Her wide, innocent eyes looked straight through me, somehow both inviting and intimidating. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice steadying as I forced back my fear. She grinned, a smile that was sweet yet unsettling. "You can see us now," she replied, tilting her head like a curious bird. "The others can't see you yet." "Others?" I echoed, glancing around me for any sign of Jake. "Where is my friend?" "He's safe. For now." Her smile widened as if she relished the word safe. "But you have to play. They're waiting." Panic twisted in my stomach. "What do you mean? Play what?" The girl giggled, a sound that seemed too cheerful for the chilling atmosphere. "The game!" She clapped her hands once, and the light brightened, illuminating the shadowy figures hidden in the tree line. They stood there, staring. I felt my pulse quicken, horror sinking in. They were not just shadows. They were children, their faces pale with haunting smiles. One stepped forward, the figure I had seen move between the trees. "Join us, it's fun." "Run!" I shouted to my instincts, turning to sprint back the way I came, desperately searching for Jake in the darkness. But as I ran, the ground beneath me began to change, shifting like sand. I could hear the laughter intensifying behind me. My legs felt heavy, as if they were quagmired in an unseen force. No matter how hard I pushed, the shadows were gaining on me. "Jake!" I screamed again, my voice cracking. "Where are you?" As if in answer, the light flickered, revealing a path behind me. I darted toward it, hoping for an escape. I had to find Jake, had to warn him about the children, about this place. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath me. I stumbled, falling into a pit. Darkness enveloped me once more, twisting into a suffocating embrace. A sudden realization struck me. I was not just searching for Jake anymore. I was fighting for my own escape from whatever had taken hold of Milltown. And then, before I could fully comprehend, the laughter returned, echoing all around me as I tumbled into the abyss. I felt the air shift around me as I landed hard on something soft. It felt like a mixture of grass and feathers. I pushed myself up, my palms sinking into the ground. The laughter faded, but the sense of unease remained, wrapping around me like a cold shroud. "Jake?" I called again, hoping against hope that he was near. No answer. Desperation clawed at my throat, and I got back to my feet, scanning the pitch black that still surrounded me. I tried to get my bearings, but the whole world felt like it was swaying, ready to swallow me whole. Then I heard it. Faint at first, but growing closer. Footsteps. My heart pounded. "Jake?" I tried again, but my voice cracked. I took a hesitant step forward, the ground beneath still soft and pliable. The steps drew nearer, heavy and deliberate. "Stop!" a voice called out hard and clear. It wasn't Jake. My breath caught, and I froze in place. "You're in the wrong game." "Who are you?" I demanded, feeling a bolt of courage surge through me. "What do you want?" "Playing dumb won't save you," the voice replied, and with that, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was a boy, maybe a year or two older than me, with a look of annoyance etched on his face. His clothes were tattered like they had been worn for years. "You're not supposed to be here." "I'm looking for my friend," I said, glancing around for any sign of Jake. "Have you seen him?" The boy narrowed his eyes, his expression hardening. "It doesn't matter. Once you're here, it's already too late." "What do you mean?" My voice was barely above a whisper. "What's happening? Think of this as a transition." He crossed his arms, leaning against a nearby tree that loomed like a shadow. "Get on board, or get lost." Before I could respond, the ground beneath my feet shuddered. A low rumble echoed as if the earth itself was reacting. The boy's smirk faded, replaced by a look of urgency. "You don't want to be around when they find you," he warned. "Trust me." "Find who?" A chill danced down my spine. Suddenly, the laughter returned, louder now, filling the air with a sinister energy. I glanced around, heart racing as I glimpsed movement from the edges of darkness. The children from earlier were closing in, their faces twisted into malevolent glee. "We need to run!" I shouted, instinct taking over. The boy hesitated for a brief second, then nodded. We took off together, racing through the dark landscape. The laughter followed us like a cruel wind, embracing me with every beat of my heart. "Where's this place?" I gasped, trying to keep pace with the boy as we dodged trees that seemed to grasp at us. "What did you mean by transition?" "This is a realm between the worlds," he replied, breathless. "You stumbled into our game. Those kids, they're not playing by the same rules." In that moment, I felt the world close in around me. Everything began to blur, the laughter rising and falling like turbulent waves. Fear gripped my chest. Who knew what rules governed this place, and what fate awaited if I couldn't escape? And then everything went dark again as a shadow lunged at us from the tree line. My last thought before it enveloped me was that I might never see Jake again. I gasped as the shadow swallowed me whole. For a moment I felt nothing but darkness. Then suddenly I was jerked back into reality, hitting solid ground with a hard thud. I blinked against a blinding light, squinting to make out my surroundings. We were in a clearing, the tall grass swaying around us, reflecting the eerie glow of the moon. The boy was beside me, breathing heavily, but he looked around with frantic eyes. "Stay close," he urged. "Where are we?" I yelled, my voice shaking. "Underground," he replied, pointing toward a jagged shadow at the far end of the clearing. "It's a safe spot for now." I followed his gaze. The shadows seemed to shift and pulse, a living dark mass that made my skin crawl. "What are those things?" I asked, unable to keep the tremor out of my voice. "The lost," he said, his eyes darting nervously toward the darkness. "They're drawn to fear, and they know you're afraid." I felt a wave of weakness wash over me. How could I possibly escape if they thrived on my fear? "What do we do?" I asked desperately. "Just stay focused," the boy replied. "Don't give in to it." Before I could respond, the air vibrated with a low growl that seemed to resonate from the shadows. The laughter returned, louder and more menacing than before. The boy grabbed my wrist and pulled me further into the depths of the shadows. "Come on!" he urged, pulling me toward the jagged shadow. We ducked under a low-hanging branch, and I felt a rush of cold air on my face. My heart raced as the hissing laughter danced behind us, their voices overlapping like a cruel choir. "What do you want from us?" I shouted into the darkness, hoping to rattle whatever hunted us. "Nothing. Yet," a voice answered, slithering from the shadows. I froze, fear filling my chest, as I recognized one of the laughing faces from before. It was a girl with hollow cheeks and eyes that seemed to gleam with malicious intent. "We want to play." "Play?" I stammered. "What does that mean?" The girl cackled, her voice echoing eerily around us. "You'll find out soon enough, but first you need to choose, join us or be lost forever." "Don't listen to her," the boy shouted, pulling me closer. "We need to keep moving." Just then, another shadow lunged from the tree line. My breath caught as I felt its icy grip on my shoulder. I twisted away, trying to wrestle free. The shadows were closing in. "Run!" I screamed. We dashed through the clearing, navigating the trees that seemed to whisper secrets of their own. I felt the cold breath of the lost on my neck. We burst into the thick of the woods, and the laughter faded, replaced by an oppressive silence. But then, ahead of us, I saw a flicker of movement. My heart sank. That was when I noticed what looked like an old wooden door propped against a tree, swinging slightly in the breeze. "What is that?" I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. "It's our only shot," the boy said, pulling me toward it. But I hesitated. Was I really ready to open a door to the unknown, or was it just another trap? Before I could make my decision, the shadows surged forward, hungry and relentless. We had no choice but to face whatever lay beyond that door. I pushed the door open, my hands trembling. It creaked ominously on its hinges, revealing a dark passageway beyond. I glanced back at the clearing. The shadows writhed, looming closer. Fear clawed at my gut. "Go," the boy urged, shoving me forward. I stepped inside, the air cool and damp. The door slammed shut behind us, cutting off the shrieks of the lost. For a moment we stood in complete darkness. I could barely make out the boy's outline. "We have to move," he whispered. "They'll find us." I nodded, but my instinct screamed at me to turn back. "Where does this lead?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He squinted into the dark. "I think it's a tunnel. It should take us away from them," he said, though I could hear the doubt lacing his words. We pressed forward, the ground beneath us uneven. My heart raced as I kept my ears alert for any sounds. Just when I thought the silence was the safest I could feel, a low thumping echoed through the passage. "What's that?" I asked, panic rising. He stopped and listened, his face tense. "I don't know, but we need to hurry." We quickened our pace, the thumping growing louder with every step. It felt as though something was following us. I wanted to look back, but I forced myself to keep moving. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, we stumbled into a wider space. We were in another clearing, even darker than the one before. Slimy vines hung from the ceiling, twisting in grotesque shapes. I spotted a faint flicker, an ethereal light somewhere up ahead. The boy pointed. "There." My heart sank as I noticed shadows shifting around the edges of the light. They didn't seem like the lost, but I had learned by now that appearances could be deceiving. "Stay close," he whispered, and I felt his hand slip into mine. I squeezed it tightly. We inched toward the light. It felt like a magnet drawing us in. As we got closer, I saw it was an old lantern perched on a stone pedestal. It was lit, flickering gently despite the lack of wind. But then I noticed something odd. Surrounding the lantern were small figures, almost like dolls, each one grotesque and twisted, their faces frozen in expressions of horror. Suddenly, the thumping sound returned, this time accompanied by breathy hisses. My instincts screamed to flee, but the lantern's glow felt like a lifeline. "What are those?" I asked, my voice trembling. The boy stepped closer, peering at the dolls. "They're not just dolls," he said, his breath quickening. "They used to be people." I recoiled, horrified. "What do you mean?" He motioned toward the figures. "I heard stories about this place. It's a trap. If you stay too long in the dark, you become one of them." Just then, the shadows at the edges of the clearing surged forward, the air thickening with their darkness. "We have to go," the boy shouted. But as we turned to flee, I felt an icy grip on my ankle. I looked down to see a shadowy tendril snaking up my leg. "Help!" With a sudden burst of adrenaline, I kicked free and bolted toward the lantern. As we reached it, the light brightened, and the shadows momentarily staggered back. "Keep moving!" the boy yelled. We dashed around the pedestal, the festering whispers of the lost echoing in our ears. But then I noticed something. The dolls, they were starting to move. "Look out!" I screamed. I turned just in time to see the figures lunging toward us. My heart dropped. What had we walked into? I couldn't shake the feeling of dread as the first doll's twisted hands reached out for me. Its face, contorted in a silent scream, sent a jolt of panic through my body. I stumbled backward, nearly colliding with the boy. "Run!" he yelled, yanking me forward as more figures sprang to life, their movement unnatural and jerky. I could hear their whispers, low and urgent, as if they were urging us to join them. I didn't want to think about what that meant. We sprinted toward the flickering light of the lantern, but the shadows pushed against us. I could feel a pressure around my chest, tightening with every step we took. Behind us, the dolls chased after us, their speed increasing with our fear. "Don't look back!" the boy shouted. The heavy thumps of their feet echoed against the stone walls, mixed with the growls of the shadows creeping closer. I could feel one of the tendrils brushing against my back, clammy and cold. My lungs burned, but I kept running, arms pumping, legs straining. We pulled ahead of the lantern, trying to find another way out of the clearing. As we rounded a bend, I spotted a narrow opening. "There!" I gasped, pointing toward it. He nodded, and we dashed toward the gap, squeezing through just as something heavy slammed against the rocks behind us. I could feel the chilling wind past my ear as one of the dolls nearly snagged me. The tunnel we entered was narrower, the walls slick with moisture. I could hear the echoes of the dolls' hisses fading behind us, but the sense of urgency still pressed heavily on my chest. "I think we lost them," the boy panted, but I wasn't so sure. The darkness felt thick and alive, wrapping around us like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. The flickering lantern behind us faded from view, leaving only the faint sounds of our breaths. We stumbled forward, our footsteps echoing hauntingly in the tunnel. I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see those twisted figures lurking, but thankfully, nothing followed. "What do we do now?" I asked, trying to catch my breath. The boy paused, squinting into the darkness. "We need to find a way out of here for good. The stories. They said there are exits, but they're hidden." "Hidden?" I repeated, panic snaking back into my gut. He seemed to ponder for a moment. "They might be disguised as walls. They could be anywhere." I took a shaky breath, feeling the absolute wrongness of where we were. "Is there any other way?" "That's all I know," he replied, his voice too quiet for my liking. Suddenly a low rumble echoed from deeper in the tunnel, vibrating through the walls. My heart skipped a beat. What was that? He shot me a look that said he had no idea, and my gut twisted. Then everything went dark. The weak glow of the lantern faded, leaving us engulfed in an impenetrable blackness. My heart raced as I pressed closer to him, terrified of what might be lurking just outside my line of sight. "Stay still," he whispered. Then, from the very depths of the shadows, a guttural growl rumbled through the silence, as if something ancient and awful was waking up. I almost wanted to cry out, to scream, but fear choked the sound before it could escape my lips. "Run," he whispered. And in that moment, the ground beneath us started to shake. Something was coming for us, and we had no choice but to escape whatever horror lay ahead. I ran. Panic surged through me as the tunnel trembled, my feet pounding against the uneven ground. The boy was close beside me, breathing heavily as we raced through the suffocating darkness. I could barely see, but I could feel the air shift as something monstrous slithered through the shadows behind us. "Which way?" I called out, desperately scanning the walls for any sign of an exit. The growl echoed behind us, reverberating through the tunnel like a thunderstorm about to break. "Right!" he shouted, tugging me toward a narrow path just ahead. We veered off course, squeezing through a tight opening that seemed almost impossibly small. The ground fell away beneath my foot, and I stumbled into a small alcove, catching myself just in time. The boy stumbled in right after, his face pale with fear. We pressed against the cool stone, breathless and disoriented. My heart raced erratically in my chest as I strained to hear if whatever was following us had caught up. The growls began to fade, but the echoes of laughter returned, chipping away at the silence. "What was that?" I whispered, the tremor in my voice betraying my fear. "It's them," he replied, his eyes wide. "They're never far behind." His voice trembled just enough for me to understand the gravity of our situation. A flicker of light caught my attention. I turned, eyes widening as I saw a dim glow spilling from the far wall of the alcove. It pulsed gently, a soft invitation against the oppressive dark. The boy noticed it too. "Is that—" "We have to check it out," I breathed, almost without thinking. That flicker felt like a hint of hope, a guiding light in this suffocating abyss. We stepped closer, and as we did, the shadows around us began to swell with an ominous energy. The laughter grew louder, more frenzied, overlapping in cruel delight, as if the dark entities behind the walls were egging us on, daring us to cross the threshold. "Be careful," he urged as we reached the glow. It was illuminating a crack in the stone, a narrow fissure that felt charged with energy. Almost instinctively, I pushed against the stones surrounding it, squeezing the edges apart just enough for the light to spill through. "This might be it," I exclaimed, a mix of hope and terror coursing through me. Without another word, I slipped through, feeling the coolness of the stone wash over me. The boy followed close behind, our hearts pounding loudly with the rush of adrenaline. On the other side, we found ourselves in a vast open space filled with a soft luminescence. The atmosphere felt lighter here, yet the laughter still echoed from the shadows behind us. It was a cavern bathed in ethereal lights, swirling colors dancing along the walls as if the very ground were alive. Where are we? I wondered aloud, feeling a creeping unease. I think this is the other side, the boundary, the boy said, squinting against the brightness. But it feels wrong. The whispered shadows shouldn't be able to reach this far. In that moment, the realization struck me. Somehow we had crossed a line, tread into a realm both familiar and foreign. The laughter faded gradually, replaced by a low hum that reverberated through the cavern, almost melodic yet unsettling. We cautiously ventured deeper into the light, and as we did, I felt a swell of something. Hope, mixed with an insistent twinge of dread. I wanted to believe we had escaped, but the shadows lingered, waiting just outside our line of vision. "Come on," the boy said, determination edging into his expression. "Let's find a way out before they catch up." As we moved forward, that sense of urgency propelled us through the cavern. But with every step, I couldn't shake a lingering fear. Whatever we had escaped might not be far behind. Just then, I caught sight of movement at the edges of the flickering lights. A figure stepped out and my heart raced anew. It was a girl, older than the shadowy children, her expression a mix of concern and recognition. "You shouldn't be here," she warned, her voice firm. "What are you talking about?" I gasped, feeling an instant connection to the energy surrounding her. "This place isn't what it seems. You've stumbled too far." "What do you mean?" the boy asked, frustration lacing his voice. She pointed behind us. "They can sense your fear. You need to move quickly." "Wait, what do we do?" I shouted, breathless. "Find the archway," she said, locking eyes with me. "But hurry. Once the laughter returns, you won't be able to escape again." With that, she turned toward the shadows, her figure shimmering before dissipating into the air. I exchanged a glance with the boy, urgency hanging in the air like the weight of a storm. We sprinted across the cavern, scanning for any sign of an exit, the shadows creeping closer with each pulse of laughter. I thought of Jake, of where he might be, lost in this nightmare still. Would we find him too, or had the darkness claimed him? My legs pumped furiously against the ground, but I felt the shadows encroaching from behind, winding around our ankles and whispering notions of despair. I glanced back just as the darkness loomed closer, taunting with their guttural whispers. "Look!" the boy shouted, pointing ahead. There it was, the archway outlined in a soft light just beyond reach. We barreled forward, desperation pushing us to the brink. The shadows lashed out, tendrils grasping for our legs, pulling us back. But we surged ahead, breaking through the threshold just in the nick of time. As we tumbled out of the passage, the darkness of the tunnel engulfed us, but we landed on solid ground. I blinked against the sudden brightness of the outside world, gasping fresh air into my lungs. The laughter faded behind me, the shadows retreating as if the light had burned them away. I turned back. Nothing remained of that haunting place, just the quiet rustling of leaves in the breeze. But as I looked at the boy, the relief of escape mingled with uncertainty. Did we really make it out? I pondered aloud, grappling with the fragile safety of this reality. "I think, maybe," he said slowly. "But they might just be waiting for the right moment." We exchanged worried glances, knowing the truth of it. In that haunting space where shadows lingered, we knew we might never understand what we had faced, only that it had changed us forever. As we turned to leave, the echoes of laughter still floated through the air, haunting yet comforting, reminding me that some mysteries are best left untouched, lying in wait for curious souls to wander too far.